听见有个声音，只不过你心碎一地。对不起，是我太任性。
那个地方有多少钱呢？
Before any one of you feel offended and go report my video on my channel, I'm not anti-China. I also watch China shows and I buy China stocks. Well, okay, back to the topic for today. I was scrolling through forums, brokerage platforms, and I noticed many people were asking about, when are China stocks going back up? Is this the bottom already? Should I start buying China stocks now? Or even 加油买运, time to rise. So, where are we now in the China stock markets? Well, I decided to do this video to talk about what I have observed recently. For those who have been following our YouTube video sharings and our Telegram channel, you will know that we have accumulated a good concentration in China stocks over the last 2 quarters. We recently also released a video on our Q3 portfolio performance review, and we were down on paper by 24% for Q3 because of our sizable China stocks holdings. If you are also holding on to China stocks and thinking about how you should be dealing with those paper losses for the China positions, go check out that video. We have put in some takeaways that you can benefit from. We have also done a video on our take on the China crackdown sometime about 2 months ago, and we are still maintaining our bullish thesis for the China tech stocks. So you can check out that video if you haven't yet. Those who have been following us, you should be familiar with our investing style. Part of our Moneyball investing methodology involves analyzing charts to read sentiments and decipher the trends in the markets. We always go with the trend, not against the trend. So for the focus for today's video, it will be on looking at the charts to see how the China stock market has been doing recently, and we have some interesting observations to share with you guys. Alright, so let's take a look at the overall market first. Let's take a look at the Seng index. For those who are new to this and are wondering, the reason why I'm looking at HSI instead of say CSI 300 index for Shanghai and Shenzhen is because my focus today is on the China tech stocks. China tech stocks like Alibaba, Tencent, they are among the top 50 constituents of the Seng index. The charts on the daily view may seem too volatile for some of you to handle, and we may not be able to clearly identify any trend. So let's toggle to the weekly charts and things should be clearer. On the weekly charts, we're able to see a very clear, nice, long-term uptrend. For those who have attended our recent Zoom sharing session, we mentioned that prices in the stock markets do not move up indefinitely, even for good stocks or ETFs on an uptrend. Prices for stocks, indexes, or ETFs with an uptrend move like this. And this is exactly what we are seeing here. Prices rally up, then retraces, then rally up again, then retraces again, and it repeats over and over again. If you play the connecting dots game and you connect the points where the prices hit the bottom, you get an upward trend line for HSI. Okay, so here comes the interesting observation. This trend line that I have drawn actually acts as a very strong support for the prices of the Seng index over the last 20 years. You can see that there are many instances over the last 20 years in which prices hit the support line and it rebounded back up. In 2020 last year, during the COVID crash, prices hit and tested this support level a few times. And in September this year, the prices tested this support level once again. So prices have since rebounded up after hitting this support level. So this is something positive that we have observed, because based on probabilities, it means to say that there is a rather high probability that prices have hit a bottom and may be ready to rebound back up soon. Of course, this is not 100% because no one can predict the price movements with 100% accuracy. This is the best you can do to make educated moves in the markets. Being able to do well in investing is knowing how to make educated moves in the markets so that we will not be slaughtered like the average investor. Then let's move on to the KWEB ETF. The upward trend for KWEB ETF still remains pretty much intact, and again you can see the trend line that I have drawn acting as a very strong support for prices. In fact, if you saw how the prices have increased by so much after the March 2020 crash and it rallied up by more than 100%, you should have been more cautious about it last year. I never like to buy and make my entry when I see something like this. I also shared my rationale during my recent sharing sessions held on Zoom. Next, let's take a look at JD.com. Well, among the China tech stocks which were impacted, I would say the stock prices of JD.com have taken one of the least hits. Well, again, we can see a downward trend initially from the start of 2021 until sometime about May before prices started to move more sideways. But at that point in time, the amount of negative news in China seems to be never ending. With events like Evergrande, China property developer debts, prices have taken a hit and plunged further down. But what is interesting is that lately, we started to see the trend for JD.com may seem to be changing. You can see for this region, the bottoms are getting higher and the tops are getting higher as well, pointing to a possible formation of a short-term uptrend. But again, I emphasize the word possible because no one can be 100% sure. We have to wait for things to play out before we can be more certain of the uptrend. And for those in our community who went through the Moneyball Investors Playbook, you should have been able to spot the short-term uptrend for JD.com using the tools that we taught. So far so good it seems. This is something positive that we have seen since the massive sell-off that we experienced this year for the China tech stocks. Let me do one last one for Alibaba, as I know many people are very curious about this stock as well. For Alibaba, you can see a strong downtrend here. In fact, you can see the gradient of the downtrend. It became greater during the July to September period. Have prices turned back to an uptrend already? At this moment, not yet. We don't see a short-term uptrend yet. We have to see how things are going to play out in the last quarter of the year. If there are more good news to come, that could potentially pull up the prices, because always remember, the majority of the investors are acting on their emotions. Or if we are hit by even more tighter regulations from the CCP, it can also bring down the prices once again. So the closing message I hope to convey to you is never crack under pressure. To do well in investing, it is what you do during a tough time.